Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. To the channel. On this page, I talk about technology and money, and then also sometimes trending news. Welcome to the new subscribers. I know there have been a couple of new subscribers here within the last week since I did a video last Tuesday. So you're very welcome to the page. Consider if you're a new viewer but haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to subscribe. And to the returning viewers, welcome back. Thank you, as always, to everyone who continues to share this content with your friends, your nursing friends, your non-nursing friends, your tech friends, your non-tech friends. I really do appreciate it. Okay, it is very much appreciated, and also appreciate folks who send the cash apps. They are appreciated as well. They keep me going. Liking and sharing the video does two things. Number one is you telling the algorithm that you find this information interesting, engaging, and helpful. And then number two, it encourages me to continue creating content that you all find interesting. Okay, so today, y'all, I'm gonna try to keep this one under 20 minutes. I'm gonna try to watch my time here. But I just want to talk about fake professionals, lessons from the quote Nurse Eugene end quote and quote Teacher Eugene end quote scam. So Nurse Eugene and Teacher Eugene, and the scams that literally had just, and I'm just going to say this is all allegedly, okay? All very much allegedly. As usual, I'll be sure to leave a link to everything in the description box once I'm done off of the live, because I always tell you guys, not just with anything that I talk about on my channel, but with anything that you come across on YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. Always do your due diligence. And today's trending story is a good example of that. Always do your due diligence before you spend money, before you invest, and spending money can also be time, because time is money. So always do your due diligence. That's why I always like to leave links to what I talk about, so you all, if you're interested, can take it further. I do want to say, with talking about this story, I haven't seen it on YouTube yet, but it is over on TikTok. It has Nurse Talk in an uproar. Okay, I do want to say that this video, my commentary on it, is not to punch down on anyone. It is not to point fingers. It is more so to tell the story from what I have observed and just the lessons that I have learned, and just talking about that, particularly for our nursing professionals. Okay, so let's do just a quick background. So I'm sharing my screen. You all should be able to see my screen. I want to talk a little bit about workplace violence, because this is one of the key workplace violence for nursing professionals, registered nurses, licensed practical nurses, certified nursing assistants, and also healthcare professionals on the providers. But I'm a nurse, so I'm talking about it from a nurse perspective, and this person portrayed themselves to be a nurse. So workplace violence against nurses was the key cornerstone to this person's story, and one of the ways that they built up a following. So I'm sharing on the screen an article from nurse.org. You know, when I share certain things, I like to go to sources like the ANA, professional organizations, some of the larger platforms, if possible, to give a little bit of background. So on the workplace violence here, so last year, nurse.org released this article with results from Press Ganey, NQNDI. So for those who are nurses but may not be familiar with Press Ganey is a methodology of research for getting data from like patients, clinicians that work in different areas like hospitals, health systems, clinics, and also from patients on their experience. So last year, nurse.org released the results from their Q2 Press Ganey results, and said 2 nurses are assaulted every hour in the workplace. And I'm not going to read through the whole article, but so they talk about how, again, this analysis came from Press Ganey's National Database of Nursing Quality Indicators, or NQI, for the second quarter of 2022. And again, that 2 nurses are assaulted every hour. The results were published on September 8th. And this is the key. Keep that date in your back pocket, because when this person who portrayed themselves as a nurse first really they had a platform on TikTok prior to them going viral with their workplace violence story. But afterwards, it was shared so widely across TikTok and also Twitter. But so the findings were published on September 8th, and based on reported assaults from 483 healthcare facilities across the United States, and included different types of units from L&D to surgical to mental health. And just very high level, it found that more than 5,200 healthcare workers were assaulted in the second quarter. That boiled down to around 57 assaults every single day. And they talk about what define when they say assault, what do they mean? Any encounter involving forcible, unwanted contact, regardless of who did the assault, whether there was intent to harm or not. And then it goes on to talk about like where the incidents occurred most often. Um, the CNO of Press Ganey also talks about, that's Jeffrey Doucette. He talked about, Dr. Doucette said that the results from Press Ganey, their analysis most likely didn't capture the full picture of violence in the workplace, because many assaults on nurses are probably never even reported. And then, so they talk about how nurses are responding, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll leave a link to this nurse.org um, article in the link. So now let's go on to who is Nurse Eugene? Who is this person? Now it's interesting. So Nurse Eugene, he there. Well, I don't know how, if he identifies as he, she, or they. So I'll just say they, to be respectful of how they identify. So their platform was initially was all on TikTok. That's where they started. That's where they went viral. I think they got up to about 70,000 followers, somewhere around there. Don't quote me on that. And the only reason I say that about is because this profile no longer exists. Okay. So when you try to go to find the nurse, you like the original, when they posted their original TikTok story back in August of 2022, when you go on TikTok or you search on Google, you can only find the stitches, or I did find on Twitter at She's in Scrub. She has the original full videos on her Twitter page. And again, I'll leave a link. I will play part of they had a part one TikTok, and then they had a part two. I'll play a little bit of part one. Part one may not play in the entirety. When I tried to play it earlier, it kept lagging, but I'll play as much as I can, and then I'll fill in when the video starts. I think it's gonna start lagging about 10 or 15 seconds in, but let's just play the first, and then I'll fill in a little bit more about who Nurse Eugene is. Okay, so I knew that was gonna lag, so I'm just gonna pause because I know it's not gonna play, or if it plays, it's just gonna lag. So what this person says, they said they were a per diem travel ICU ER nurse. That's a lot. That's a lot to take in. That was a little bit of flag to me. I know that there are travel ER ICU nurses, but I didn't know there was a such thing as a per diem travel ICU ER nurse. So they talked about that. So in this video, they go on to say that they were providing care to a patient, that they were attacked by the patient for 30 minutes. The assault went on for 30 minutes. They didn't have any help. When they finally were able to get away from the patient and get help, this person, Nurse Eugene, said that in talking with their coworkers, the coworkers said they didn't know that that the person, that Nurse Eugene was being attacked. They thought they were in the room putting in the IV, and that when Nurse Eugene tried to report it to hospital leadership, they discouraged them from making a report because of how bad it would look on the facility. So here's a part two to the video. I think part two will play a little bit more. Let's see. Here we go. Yep. And I'm going to pause here and say that this story gripped up a lot of nurses on TikTok. I saw it when it first dropped. I know a lot of most every nurse influencer that I follow on TikTok that have like 100,000, 200,000, and more followers reposted it. Nurses with followings of all sizes were reposting it. It really went. It went super viral. Um, just because of what was said in the video about how the incident unfolded, how the hospital reacted, and then let me play a little bit more. So, and it's clear to me, it looks like they are in a hospital room, or because you can see like the bedboard, the headboard at the top of the bed. You see, looks like there's the suction connections. There looks like there's a mounted computer over their right shoulder. It looks like they have a central line in the neck. Now, when I saw the central line bandage in the neck, I'll talk a little bit later about why it was a red flag to me. But let's play the remaining minute or so. Okay. I think it's gonna pause. Yeah, I think it's pausing again. Okay. So that is the story. That is very high level. And again, I'll leave a link to the video. So after the video was posted, they went viral. They went on and talked about how they were raising money for a lawyer. They needed money for a lawyer because the hospital wasn't going to provide and support. And they posted a GoFundMe. Okay. They posted a GoFundMe. And of course, as I noted last summer, there were last year, and even now into this year, but last year, there were a lot of incidents. You were hearing stories from Texas, from California, from New England of nurses being assaulted. So when Nurse Eugene came out with their story, and then they posted a GoFundMe because they said the hospital told them not to report it, and they needed to hire Nurse Eugene needed to hire a lawyer. People donated. People were donating and telling people to donate, etc. So that went on. Nurse Eugene connected with a lot of other nurse influencers, continued to do like lives and panels with nurse influencers, etc. And then 2 days ago, now Nurse Cherie on TikTok, she is an ICU travel nurse. Now she's the one who broke the story. And again, I'll leave a link to her TikTok page, but I'm going to play this minute and a half video where she was the one who realized, because she had a relationship with him like via like text. You know, you connect with someone online, you text with them, you may do panels. They do a panel, a live stream on your page, or you do a live stream on their page, etc. But she built a relationship with this Nurse Eugene to the point where they had each other's contact information. They were texting back and forth. So it got to the point where Nurse Eugene gave her their full name. And there was another point that he said, or they said, that they had sickle cell, they had admissions, and was needing more money, etc. So at some point, this nurse became very highly suspicious. And I'll just play this TikTok video in its entirety. I think you'll get the gist. And then after that, we will then transition on into some lessons learned. And again, it's not to punch down at all, but just some things to keep in mind when we come across people who, share stories that may need financial assistance. Okay, I'm going to pause, and then this is when Nurse Cherie, she's an ICU travel nurse, started getting information. You can see, and you can go to her page, and I'll leave a link to her TikTok page where she started digging and pressing him and said, "Hey, well, what's your full name? What's your license number? Where's your nurse? What state do you have your nursing license from?" And then you see where at one point, Nurse Eugene said, "Oh, I got sick," but they had given her the number to their parents, and she texts the parents, quote unquote parents, and it's like, "Hey, you have the wrong number." So that's what this is. Okay, let's continue. We only have a minute left of this video. Okay, so this is where she talked about, like, they would share their location and talk about who their parents were and where they are. Okay, did y'all see that? Where she texts the folks who were supposedly Nurse Eugene's parents, and they're like, "Oh no." It says, "Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell," because Nurse Eugene said their last name was Mitchell. She said who she was. "I'm reaching out because I have not heard from Eugene because, again, he said in other videos that he had sickle cell, that he couldn't go back to work because of the assault, and also because of their sickle cell disease, and needed financial assistance." So she reached out to their parents to say, "I'm just trying to figure out how he's doing. I pray this finds you well. Please let him know." Okay, he must identify as him. "Let him know that I'm praying for him. Thank you." And they're like, "Oh, no, you had the wrong number. Have a nice day." Okay, let's continue. We have we have about 30, 40 seconds left. Okay, and so she kept doing digging based on the other information they had exchanged. She realized that Nurse Eugene Mitchell was not Nurse Eugene Mitchell. It was actually someone else. They were not actually, or ever had been, allegedly, a true nurse, never had truly been attacked or had all the other things going on that they said they did. But let's continue and let's finish this up. So you can see this person had multiple social media profiles on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and also Twitter, which you'll see here in a moment. They also said that they were a bishop as well. So you can see this was their Twitter handle, Nurse Eugene M. And this is Nurse Eugene replying back to a tweet someone asked about millennials. Just reply back with the number of jobs you work. So Nurse Eugene said, "I've only had one job. I started out as an intern, and now I'm the lead special education teacher." So now they're saying that they are teachers. And then at some point, this was this was July of 2019. So usually if you're on like Facebook, I've seen it on Facebook, I've also seen it on Twitter. Usually around the summertime, a lot of teachers will people will do like social media campaigns to help teachers get supplies for their classroom. So you'll see teachers posting like their Amazon wish list for their classrooms, or I haven't seen the Cash Apps. Now this was a new one on me, but I have seen teachers posting like Amazon wish lists for like saying, they need paper for their classroom or scissors and things like that. So, and summer 2019, someone said, "If you're a teacher purchasing your own supplies, drop your Cash App in this thread." And quote, Nurse Eugene said that they were a teacher and said, "Okay, send the money to $ Teacher Eugene." So the Nurse Eugene profile is no longer in existence. It's no longer there. The person seems to have disappeared off of the internet. It looks like they were never really a nurse, and they were never really a teacher. So let's finish up and go into the lessons, y'all, because there are some lessons here that I want to just talk about when we look at, and I'm going to make this big, so y'all just bear with me. And then we'll wrap up here in the next minute. So I'm going to share my whole screen. Hopefully, y'all can just see the whole screen and nothing else. Because I just want to, let's see. Can y'all see that? Let me double check. Just bear with me, y'all. Yes. Okay. It is in full screen. Okay. Now let me make it all the way full screen. All right. So just some lessons from this Nurse Eugene and Teacher Eugene scam. And again, it's allegedly, and not to punch down, but when we see situations like this, that pull on like nursing professionals, as professionals, our profession is known to be caring, empathetic. We assess, depending on the type of nurse we are, we listen to what the patient is saying or what the person is saying before we react. That's part of our assessment. And so you think, I don't know what's going on in the country right now with folks wanting to be nurses. You think about what happened with Operation Nightingale a couple of weeks ago, and all the fake nurses, people who never went to nursing school, or they never took the NCLEX, or they took the NCLEX but never did the education. I don't know if it's something with what the economy is going on right now, but yes. Or, there are people who seek out nurses that quote nurses with a purse, unquote, because folks have an idea they think they have an idea of nurses earning power, potential, excuse me, with the ability to work, shift differentials and be a travel nurse, and, maximizing income and things like that, by taking on per diem or PRN roles. So just some lessons for nurses, for us just to remember, and also teachers, because this person also posed as a teacher, and solicited donations both ways. Number one, just understand and think about parasocial relationships. Who we may interact with people online and connect with people online and engage with them in comments, but that does not mean that we know them or that they know us, right? It can be parasocial relationships, can be very much one sided, where you think because the person may post a vlog, like a day in my life of a nurse. That's really hot on TikTok, where nurses post what their day in the life is like, or a week in the life as a nurse, or a day in the life as a student nurse, etc. And the people talk about what they like, their favorite colors, favorite food, favorite artists. With parasocial relationships, it can make you think that you know the person, but you don't. We just have to remember that everyone that we come across and engage with on the internet, unless you know them in real life offline and have built up a personal relationship, no matter how much you engage with that person online, or you see them engaging with other top nurse influencers or just influencers in general, they are still a stranger. We don't know them. So we just have to keep that in mind. Because I think sometimes folks can get a sense of familiarity with people, and we don't really know them. Number two, pay attention to the small things. And let me just exit out of this and tell you what I mean by paying attention to the small things. When I saw this, I did not donate to Nurse Eugene's GoFundMe. I did not, because when I listened to the story and I looked at the background and I was just listening, and then I was like, oh my God, this was really awful. I saw all the nurse influencers with the, hundreds of thousands of followers talking about it, but something about the story did not sit right with me. And when I looked at, hopefully y'all can still see this, when I looked at this central line dressing and I saw the necklace on top of it, I said, what kind of central line dressing is that? It's not secured. I mean, this looks like a triple lumen. I was like, what kind of triple lumen central line would have a dressing that is loose like this around the neck and has the necklace on top of it? That, to me, was a flag. Now, that's just to me. And I was like, oh, something don't feel right. Something just don't feel right. That's what my gut told me. And so that's why when I say, let me go back into big screen, that's when I say pay attention to the small things. That to me was a small thing. I thought it was a very sad story. And I was like, oh my God, this person got attacked. And now they need to hire a lawyer because they say the hospital is telling them not to talk about the incident, so they need a lawyer, and they posted a GoFundMe. But then I went back and I started watching some of their older videos, and I just kept watching their story. I was like, something just that dressing to me was a red flag. So definitely take the time to pay attention to the small things. Number 3, lesson. Again, this story is not to punch down on anybody, not to punch down on the nurses that he received money from, or the teachers that he received money from, or they received money from, but just for us as, again, as nursing professionals, to just keep in mind, even if it's someone not within the nursing world platform, and they're soliciting donations online because they have a sad story, something happened, I don't know, to their car, and they need to get tires and get their children to school. That's fine. People do need help, right? People need help. They talk about it, GoFundMe's, etc. But for yourself personally, just do a consideration before donating. Number 1, can you really afford it? Right? Can you afford the $5, $10, $100, how much ever you're considering donating? Number 2, if you donate and the person, like in this case, turns out to allegedly potentially be a scammer, how is that going to make you feel? Because you got. Now, I'll tell a personal story before I get into my last and final lesson. This is why I don't 99% of the time do not donate to GoFundMe's. Many years ago, someone on Twitter that I followed, an influencer, set up a GoFundMe to do a documentary. And the topic that they were going to do the documentary on, it was a topic that I found of great interest. They had a great GoFundMe page with like a plan and said, these are the tiers. This is what you'll get if you donate. This is how it's going to help me. This is my production plan for the documentary and how I'm going to execute, implement a timeline, all etc. The person not only reached their fundraising goal, which I was happy for them, they surpassed it. A month after they surpassed their goal, the person then posted pictures of a luxurious vacation online, which is fine. That was great. Okay, no problem. But the documentary never came out. And then maybe about 2 or 3 years later, that same person came back talking about wanting to do a documentary and was soliciting donations. And I was like, you know what? My gut telling me, and I donated to that was many years ago. That was a good, oh God, that was a good 10 years ago, roughly. But after that, I was like, oh no. So just for yourselves, just consider before, just take some consideration for donating. And then number 4, listen to your gut. When the Nurse Eugene getting attacked and everything, and all the subsequent videos, I wish, kind of wish they had not erased their social media profile from TikTok, because they posted quite a few videos on their page about the attack and how the hospital was, treating them and their coworkers and the PTSD. And of course, that as nurses, that pulls on our heartstrings, especially for those who are still at the bedside or who work in clinical adjacent areas. So I just think that with this whole situation, it's just a little bit egregious that this person allegedly took advantage of what's happening to nurses as a profession around workplace violence and built a whole story around that, took donations, and now it all looks to be a scam. So listen to your gut. And those are my lessons. And I'm going to again reference back to Nurse Cherie, DZ Cherie. She's a Haitian travel ICU nurse. She has so many more like receipts on her TikTok page that you all can go and do your own research. Y'all just be careful, okay? Be careful about the information you consume when you consume online. Be careful on who you take advice from online. Like I always say, don't ever believe everything I say. Don't ever believe anything any influencer says on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, etc. Always do your own due diligence, right? And as nursing professionals, folks know about our how empathetic we are, and we know what's going on socially within our profession. So when people, tell or post stories about soliciting donations and things, just pay attention to the small things. Y'all just be safe and take care of yourselves, right? and take care of each other. If you made it this far in the video, please consider liking the video and also sharing it, okay, with your friends. And please leave a comment below if you found this information interesting and helpful. And I will see you in the next video.